Hello there. I'm Ed Brady. I'm the CEO and President of the Home Builders Institute. Happy to be with you, and it's such an honor and pleasure to have my guest today, Tim Hourigan, who is the Senior VP. What do you call yourself at the Home Depot?
Well, the title's not as important as the role.
As the role, he
And
he he runs all the HR for the Home Depot,
Mhm.
and Tim and the Home Depot Foundation are just wonderful partners. And it's fitting that we're sitting here today, given that it's Military Family Appreciation Month
Absolutely.
and that we just passed Veterans Day. And the Home Depot does so much for veterans, the Home Depot Foundation and the Home Depot itself. I'm sure you employ a number of veterans, and you make it a mission from the Home Depot perspective to support. Our partnership started with the Transitioning Military Program,
Exactly. Yeah.
and so it's really great to have you here, Tim. You're also on our board and have been on our board for a number of years, and so you're wearing both hats here today. But it's a pleasure to be here, and I really appreciate you taking the time. We've trained with your dollars and our effort over 800 soldiers, sailors, and Marines over the last 3 or 4 years now, and they're averaging. I found this interesting. They're averaging graduation and jobs after they leave the military of almost $50,000 a year, 23
Isn't that amazing?
bucks an hour. And
Mhm.
so, our mission has been to over the 6 years is to provide opportunity. I think it's I didn't know this, but an 18-year-old goes into the military and they spend 4 years. They get out at
Mhm.
22. They're more disciplined, maybe a little more mature, but they didn't necessarily have a marketable career path or marketable skill. And what you have helped provide is the opportunity for them to go through our 12-week program. So it's just a pleasure to have you here today. And we're just going to have a casual conversation about the Home Depot and the Home Depot Foundation, the mission and the partnership. So I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself if you would.
Glad to, and thanks for having me, Ed. I
Yeah.
tell you, the merger of our missions, what HBI is doing and what Home Depot Foundation is doing, it couldn't be closer. It's hand in glove, literally hand in glove. Uh, as a way of background, I've been with the company 22 years, and I lead our human resource group, which includes the foundation and our cultural initiatives. And all of those are so critical to the Home Depot mission. Just recently, one of our founders passed away, Bernie Marcus, and he helped set the standard for us of giving back and being involved in our communities.
Yeah.
And what Bernie did, when he started this company over 45 years ago, along with Arthur Blank and Ken Langone, those three pushed us to do things that maybe isn't traditional what business does. And then partnering with HBI, I tell you, it just takes it to a whole different level. It's so
Yes.
cool to do.
Well, you just mentioned that he was 95, lived a great life, one of the founders,
Mhm.
and Home Depot is really a young company,
It is.
and the size and the magnitude and the way you've given back is
Mhm.
just incredible. And started with as you mentioned those three founders. And before I leave, I mean, we've got a conversation about the other programs that you've helped us innovate with and grow. But I read just recently in the Wall Street Journal that veterans' homelessness has decreased
Yes.
substantially, and that
Mhm.
we're making really positive headway. And I'd be remiss by not congratulating Home Depot
Yeah,
and
thank you.
your work and
Mhm.
your company's work on that mission.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, we do a lot of grassroots efforts. And for example, in Atlanta, there's a group called the Veterans Empowerment Organization. And it's just a tremendous organization that helps veterans get back on their feet. It's actually a complex of old apartment buildings that have been renovated, and it's on a compound on the west side of Atlanta. And in that compound, there's education opportunities, there's counseling, there's support for the previously a homeless veteran. And
Hmm.
what's really cool and what's really special is they can bring their families with them.
Wow.
So they have a place where they can re-engage with their family as well as they start getting onto a new career path. And we're proud of those efforts,
Wow.
but we do those types of grassroots efforts all over the country.
And there's work to do, and I'll mention too that through our programs with you is we'll train military spouses
Right.
if we have opportunities. And one of my great stories is of meeting a soldier and a wife in one of our programs, and the wife was going through because he was being shipped to Germany and they can't work outside, and so she was going to work on the base from the training that you
Mhm.
and HBI provided. So um, I want to. So that's how we do things, and we'll talk a little bit about our programs. But the why is important, right? I
Mhm,
mean, we put out a biannual labor market report. Rob Dietz up at NHB and chief economist and their team give us kind of statistics on what the need is, and I know you've read that. Being on our
mhm,
board, you're familiar with that, but you've got a why as well. I mean, our mission is to serve individual students,
mhm,
provide opportunities for them to which they would not have otherwise. And we have a dual mission. I'm chairman, past chair of NAHB, to improve the industry.
mhm.
And talk about why the Home Depot Foundation, the Home Depot, and uh, what's in it for you?
Yeah, well, I guess it starts with we have 3 pillars in our foundation that are critical to the foundation's mission. First is dealing with disasters, and the unfortunate situation in Asheville, North Carolina is a great example of where we jump in and try to respond with Hurricane Helene and then followed quickly by Milton, hitting the coast of Florida and then moving up through the Carolinas.
Devastating.
It
Yeah,
was terrible.
yeah,
And the ability to go into those communities and give back and help people to get back on their feet and recover is a critical core part of our mission in the foundation.
yeah,
2 other pieces, which are again so closely aligned with HBI's mission. One is veterans issues, and as you mentioned, we're on 10 bases. We have trained thousands of exiting military and their spouses
yeah,
and putting them in a position where they can actually have a great career. And that's the one thing a lot of times, as you mentioned, a young person goes into the military, they're 18 years old, they get out when they're 22.
yeah.
They're great as understanding how do you follow
How to
rules.
show up at work
Yeah,
and all the things. Yeah,
commitment. I
right,
understand those things.
right.
That's important. But then,
Yeah,
well, what skills do I bring?
that's right.
And that's where this blend of teaching them how to be tradespeople, and when they get off the base and when they leave the military, they actually have a great career opportunity in front of them. And that for us, that's part and parcel. You mentioned homeless veterans. Yes, we
Yeah,
focus on that, but veterans issues in general.
yeah,
And then the third pillar is really dealing with skilled trades. And we see a huge shortage. And obviously, with HBI and the National Home Builders Association, that
yeah,
those organizations see it much closer.
yeah.
But there's 400,000 estimated today.
Crisis level.
400,000. Yeah. And you think, wow, 400,000, that's a lot. Well, it gets worse. In I think it's 2031, they expect that number to be 3.9 million.
Yeah,
Uh, for every 5 plumbers or 5 electricians that retire and leave the trades, there's 1 person to replace them.
yeah. That's a problem.
Oh,
A,
it's yeah, I would suggest
just
it's
the
huge.
maintenance of the
Yeah.
existing, not to mention the number of units
Mhm.
we need to build to house our country, right?
Oh,
Is
but
that you
that's
can't even maintain.
no, but and that's the thing. You say today we're 1.5 million units short. Some people say it's 3, some say it's 3 to 5, but
Right.
for me, and I'm an HR guy, and so all I know is it's a whole lot.
It's a
It's
lot
a
of
lot of
numbers. Yeah,
houses.
yeah,
And
yeah.
every year, we're not building to the current year's demand, so the deficit just gets bigger. And when you say, "Well, what's in it for us?" From a business standpoint, yes, we'll benefit from customers buying product, but what we really benefit from is the stronger communities we build.
Mm,
And the fact that we can go into markets and you can see the vibrancy and you can see the electricity and the growth in a market as housing comes to the surface, which is kind of to me, the starting point of a community.
that's right.
And then everything else follows from that.
Yeah. If you don't have a home to go to, rest and read and learn and become a family and create memories, you don't have the basic fundamentals that you need. And so
So true.
to be able to provide those through, and you mentioned the thousands. You have been a part of over 4,000, 5,000 men and women leaving the military and finding those career paths, which is a win-win. We're providing them opportunity, but also providing the inventory that we need in this country. We also, outside of the 50 million commitment, you've increased that exponentially. I think you're
Mhm.
$750 million is
Right.
what your commitment is to the trades.
Yes.
Yeah, which is remarkable. You have a Path to Pro program that we'll talk about in a little bit, but how you connect students to the industry and the work that you're doing there is fantastic. But we also have innovated together. Your team and HBI and my team
Mm,
have created other programs
exactly.
to go beyond the military, and part of our foundation is Job Corps, where we train at-risk youth.
Mhm.
But you now have, and the Department of Labor funds that, but you have helped us fund similar opportunities.
Mhm.
Can you talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, well, I guess there's 2 that I'd highlight. The first is the academies that are in the local market, and it's yes, it's focused on younger people into the trades, but also people within the
Right,
community that wanna build a skill set.
right.
And we're in 6 markets. We've had several thousand people through,
Hmm.
and I think the key point to me is we started this in our partnership during COVID.
Yeah, we did.
So, you think about it, the field was not well plowed when we started this initiative.
Yeah, you've grown with us, and
Yeah.
you've helped invest in this and made a lasting impact. Keep
Yeah,
going.
and I tell you, it's so cool to see that those markets, especially the ones that are a little bit more established, like Orlando, where the first academy was,
Yeah,
you look at the number of graduates, and everyone has the opportunity to not only build a career where they can get, quote, work, but they also have the opportunity to perhaps evolve into a business owner. And you start thinking about generational wealth and changing trajectories and really having a lasting impact on individuals and communities. That is a special, special thing. And then the second program we've worked on together, and I think we're in almost 200 high schools, maybe a little bit north of that.
more north of that, almost 300.
And think about the thousands of 11th and 12th graders that get exposed to the trades.
Yeah,
Now, again, statistics, you believe plus or minus, right?
yeah,
But a very, very small percentage of high school age children know anything about the skilled trades.
yeah.
That's a uh, uh, activity that's never been
Yeah.
exposed
No
to them.
vision, no transparency to it.
No,
But yeah,
exactly, and you
yeah,
sit back and you look at that and you say, "Boy, if we could just get them the opportunity to understand what the trades are." So almost 300 schools, we have the opportunity to expose them to the trades, give them some training so that when they graduate from high school, they've got options.
yeah.
For some, going to university, going to college is the right thing to do.
Right.
For many others, it's not. And this gets them an opportunity to get out in the trades as an apprentice. They have some basic skills and they could learn to how to build a career in a broader scale.
When you, I would even say, in growing up, trades, what we used to call shop class, that was a alternative
Mhm.
path. I like to say, and it's true, and for many young people, it is the path. It is the first
Yeah.
path that they want to take, and they have it for 20 years, and this is why we have this shortage. I believe part is they didn't have exposure to it, and they didn't have awareness of, as you said, entrepreneurship and owning their own business and a good career path. And you have put, last year we touched HBI over 20,000 students,
That's wild.
and through your grants, we've been able to donate our curriculum into these schools.
Mhm.
And we're really, if we don't get it back into the young people, we're not going to make five out of one
Right.
new person to five that leave. We're not going to make that up with uh, um, displaced workers or 40-year-olds. We're going to have to start, I would say, at the sixth, seventh, eighth grade to introduce them. And you guys are such a big part of that. You also, from a inclusivity and diversity, Under Black Men of America is a program that you've helped fund.
Oh, that's been a great program,
Yeah,
and we're in 3 cities, and I know we're partnering to open up Las
Las Vegas,
Vegas.
yes,
That's gonna be cool.
yeah,
And you look at the Oakland chapter and the work that's being done there and
yeah,
the number of graduates and the number of students. In those 3 cities, we have over 500, close to 600, and almost half of them are in Oakland.
yeah,
And again, you think about changing the trajectory. How do you help people build generational wealth?
yeah,
The thing that's, and especially in my profession, we talk a lot in the human resource world about, well, artificial intelligence. What's going to happen with AI? And everyone wants to talk about that.
yeah,
I can tell you one industry that's not going to be affected by AI. You're going to still need a plumber. You're going to
yeah.
need a carpenter. You're going
Hands
to
on.
need a master tradesman.
Yep.
And those jobs will continue to exist into the future.
Yeah.
Other jobs, will be impacted. And if you can help a young person to understand that,
Yeah. And I was talking to Rob Dietz just to that
mhm,
point. AI is going to take some office jobs,
right?
right? They're going to probably make it more efficient, but to your point, those office jobs that are gone, people are going to have to go into the trades. Look at the
Mhm.
trades as an opportunity for a good career path. And as a mom and pop kind of industry from the home building perspective and the remodeling industry and home building. I think there's opportunity to build your own business. And I want to filter back just for 1 second because the one of the community programs that you guys help fund is a habitat program that goes on our military bases,
Mhm.
partners with the military bases to help build a habitat
Yeah, and in the it's a great
home.
ability to pull people together, and we've partnered with Habitat for years, and now being able to pull our partnership with HBI, blend it
Yeah.
with the Habitat organization, and then give our exiting military a chance to demonstrate hands-on how to wire a house, how to plumb a house,
Yep.
what carpentry efforts are needed to make this house a home, and there's so many touch points that get you excited about that.
So in 400,000 empty jobs, won't get into politics, but immigration plays a role. 30% of our population is immigrant. 4% of our trades population is women,
Mhm.
and you're in HR, and
Uh-huh.
so you 500,000 employees. I
We're
don't know what
right at 500,000. Uh-huh.
incredible, and your knowledge on our board and what you've given back from our perspective is so appreciated. But we look at second chance, we look at women, we look at opportunities of populations that traditionally, as a white male, I can say hasn't been open.
Mhm.
And the woman that leads your foundation is incredible,
Uh-huh.
and so there's huge opportunity. I just want to ask, how you see the future of diversifying this industry in the way that you touch it,
Well, and I think you mentioned, Erin,
Aaron.
Erin Eisen, who leads our foundation. She's a military spouse, and she's a great example of someone you can't tell no. She's gonna figure out how to get it done,
Yeah,
and she's Erin's a special lady, very bright, understands what's going on in the world. We need to give people that same level of exposure because I would submit that a lot of women would look at this industry and say, "Nah, maybe that's not for me." And when you open up the aperture and say, yes, that actually is,
right.
you can do these things. And frankly, you could do them as well as or better than the men that are in the roles. Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah,
And I think that bit of confidence infusion, building that capability through the training and say, yeah, you can do it. We can show you how.
yeah,
We used to have an old saying at the Home Depot. One of our mantras was, you could do it, we can help.
yeah,
And that's what I think about with bringing diversity into the trades.
yeah.
Let's just open the door and
Open
give
the
them the
door. The
opportunity.
physicality and the traditional thoughts about women don't belong in the trades. I mean, obviously, we have this huge shortage, and they certainly, I've seen successes all
Mhm.
over. In fact, in our academies, we train about 30%
Mhm.
of the students are women, and so the doors are open. We hope that as we talk and we continue to communicate that the opportunities, we hope that population continues to grow because, frankly, they're going to be great business owners. They're great home
Mhm.
builders throughout the country. There's great leaders in this industry as we speak. Um, we mentioned Aaron, and I do want to hit on your path to pro and that program in the sense that you are taking opportunities to take students that are being trained and connecting them with industry.
Right.
I think it's a significant gap in how we introduce people into the industry because you can train
Mhm.
and pray that they get a job,
Exactly.
but with your work and the work that we're doing and others, many others, connecting those trainees, those students, now credentialed and certified to an industry that will employ them.
Yeah, and that's been a special initiative. We started that in about 2018, and we were investing in the trades training, trying to get people ready to step into a trades role.
Yeah.
And then as obvious as the nose on my face, you look at it and you go, okay, great. Now, how can they get a role other than looking through want ads or maybe expanding their own personal networks?
Yeah.
So we built a tool called pathtopro.com, and it really has two purposes. One is it provides educational resources. So on demand, a person can go there. It's all free. They can pull off information about how to do certain things. And we think that is a great resource for them to be able to connect. The second part of that is really where our pro customers have told us that the one limiting factor, the single limiting factor, isn't the availability of jobs, isn't the availability of customers, it isn't the availability of product. it's the availability of skilled tradespeople, and they don't know where to find them either. So what we've done on one side of this tool is the input are people graduating from our programs that we certify, but it's open to others
Yep.
that could put their name and their resume and some of their accomplishments on the site. And then on the other side of this is the pro customer from a Home Depot standpoint who's saying, I need to have a carpenter and I happen to live in this zip code and to be able to query the system to see who's available.
Yeah.
And we've continued to iterate on that. It's the training is in both
Yeah.
English and Spanish. So we're looking to take that foundation and build it to be a much stronger tool as
Yeah, I
well.
mean, it seems simple, right? But to connect that student that doesn't know anybody in the industry wants to enter the industry, and when you talk about it, and I built homes for 30 years, the cycle time of building a home was 30 days. The remodels were 100 days. Now it's 9 months and 6 months. I mean, and that's really in large part due to the lack of labor,
Mhm.
and so those pros in throughout the industry. And if you survey, and NHB has surveyed builders, um, labor is the number one or number two issue all the time.
Mhm.
Framing carpenters, any kind of carpenter, masons, plumbers, electricians, as we've talked about, is just continuing to be a problem. Productivity will go down as we build through this because you're losing that 55, 60-year-old plumber. You're
Mhm.
bringing in a 22-year-old plumber. It's going to take them some time to
Sure.
become as good as that 60-year-old plumber. Um, I want to talk just a little bit about the economics of you mentioned earlier, 1.5 to 5 million. The historically old inventory that we have in this country, and just the overall economy as Home Depot looks at it, as we look to a new
Mhm.
administration and a change in administration, the outlook from your perspective in this industry to give more credence to people looking at this industry
Uh-huh.
and saying, you've got a long road and a great career path, and some insight to that from
Yeah,
your
I'd say
perspective.
yeah, so at Home Depot, we are exceptionally bullish about the future in this industry. There is a huge shortage, and there continues to be the demand for housing formation that's exceeding what we're building. So that
Yep.
divot just gets bigger.
Yep.
Then you look at the opportunity that people, as they look to build homes, as they look to renovate homes, existing housing stock is over 40 years old.
Wow.
And so you start thinking about not only new homes, but
Just
remodels,
yeah.
renovations, adding rooms, adding bathrooms, adding capabilities. That tailwind will be with us for 10 plus years. So if I was to advise a young person that's thinking, well, what do you think about the industry's viability? I'd say, there's that song, The Future's So Bright, I Have to Wear Shades. That's what I would tell
Yeah.
them. Get a pair of shades.
That's great.
It's gonna be big.
Yeah.
And then you talk about macroeconomics, and like Dr. Dietz is much more appropriate to talk to
You're in
that.
HR and I'm a
Yeah.
builder, so yeah.
So look, yeah, we could go down a long path. It probably wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
But I do know this: personal economics are critical. And if I could tell a
Mm,
young person that you can support your family, you can start a family and support a family. You can send your kids to wherever you want to send them, whether it is to trade school or whether it's to learn a skill or whether it's to learn something at a university level. You can provide for your family and for future generations by doing this work.
yeah.
That is when I think about the economic world, yes, from a Home Depot standpoint, we're $160 billion in sales. We're a big company.
Yeah.
We're profitable. We've done well. We'll continue to do well.
Sure.
But if you bring it down to that person you're sitting across the table from and you say, young man, young lady,
Yeah.
think about this. In 2 years, you can be on your own. You can be making almost six figures. In 5, 6 years, you could actually have two or three people working for you if you so desire.
That's right.
You can have 3 or 4 trucks on the road. And all of a sudden, you start building a business that does provide generational wealth. And that excites
I got to take you on the road with me into these
me.
schools
Yeah.
because that is really the peer to peer. Students want to hear
Hmm.
that, right? They want to hear from people that have been in the industry. I started out as a carpenter in high school.
Hmm.
Think went to college thinking building industry is not for me,
Right.
and joined my dad in business a couple years out of college, and then ended up building thousands of homes, and I never had that vision in my mind, and so they have to see that. They have to talk to people, and, um, you mentioned how large you are, but you guys are in the grassroots. I mean, you large corporation, and I know how proud you are and how proud your employees are, but every person matters to you. You
Yeah.
have and this I didn't ask you if I could talk about this, but it's amazing to me see your Homer Fund and what you do with
Mhm.
your employees. The things that you give back at a community level is just it's inspiring.
Right.
So I'm going to give you a minute to just talk
Okay.
about what that means to you.
Yeah, I tell you, we're very proud of that. The Homer Fund you mentioned is an internal fund for associates, funded by associates. The company provides some funding, the associates provide funding. And it's
Yeah,
a voluntary thing as far as the funding.
yeah.
I could tell you tens and tens of stories that would just make tears come to your eyes.
I've heard some.
But it's things like a family has a disaster at home, their home burns. The Homer Fund is there to provide funding for them as they transition emergency housing needs, food needs.
Yep.
When Helene hit, or when Milton hit just recently, we're able to provide, as people have to evacuate where they're living, we were able to provide temporary housing, food for them. And we continue to provide that while they get themselves back on their feet and they get back into their homes and they find hopefully not much damage.
Yeah.
But if it is damage, we're able to provide funding for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, it's associates giving to other associates. I'll give you a real quick story, try to hit just the highlights.
Yeah.
I was in a store and I was talking to a lady and she was a mother of 3, single mom, and the store found out about that and that she had been in an abusive relationship and she had to move, and she started with Home Depot. The store raised money for her, they found an apartment, they built furniture for her, they stocked her pantry, all out of the Homer Fund, and in addition, they were able to help provide some clothing for the kids. You know what the, Paul Harvey rest of the story was?
Yeah.
She'd been with us a short period of time. She was contributing $1 a pay to the Homer Fund
Oh
out
my
of her
good.
own pocket,
Oh my
so
goodness.
she could help somebody who was less fortunate.
Couldn't provide for herself yet giving back, and it shows. I mean, I've met so many of your employees, and giving back to the community is
Mhm.
part of your culture,
Right.
and it shows at the customer service level. And I'm not blowing smoke
Mhm.
here. I mean, it really shows at the customer service level, and so and this has been fantastic, and I think what you're seeing here is large company and Home Depot and giving back to society and give back to the community, but also the individual that kind of oversees the entire network of Home Depot employees. And we have a common vision, as you said earlier, Tim. And just to kind of maybe give some final thoughts as to where we continue to grow. You guys have been inspirational for us to be innovative
Mhm.
and have a different outlook on different approaches and what might work and what our academy is a good example.
Mhm.
You signature money, seed money for us to go into those 6 markets and build these academies and train anybody that comes off the street that's interested in a job in the industry, which is in many cases, as you said, tearful in some of the stories that we hear and some of the even homeless
Mhm.
that we have not only trained but then hooked up with. So to end, first of all, the Home Builders Institute wouldn't be who we are without the the Home Depot Foundation. Hopefully, and I sense this is it's a mutual benefit to both of us.
Mhm.
But I want you to just, you know, talk about the future, talk about the hope that we have in this industry to continue to populate, to continue to give opportunities, to continue to give social upward mobility for our students as
Mhm.
we move forward together. So I've asked you a lot. I've questioned you on a few
Mhm.
things. So give me, just kind of a closing comments on the good work you're doing.
Yeah, well, I guess a couple thoughts. First, HBI is world class. When we were looking for a world class partner to join with, HBI came to the surface, and that has been an excellent decision on our part. We're very, very happy we made that decision back in 2018, 2017.
Yep.
And part of it is the programmatic effort and the excellence that exudes from HBI. But that's only a piece of it. The real piece that's the value add, the icing on the cake, the extra value that really drives that partnership is the collaborative nature of the relationship.
Mm,
So if you'd asked us in 2019, what do you think about academies? We would have said, I don't know.
yeah.
And all of a sudden we start building academies. If you'd said, well, we want to go into a few high schools and see if we can reinvigorate a 2020 and beyond iteration of shop class, we said, yeah, okay. How do we think about that? That's that collaboration
Yeah.
where, yes, we're able to provide funding and that's great and it supports our philanthropic efforts. But the real value is that collaborative nature that we have. And what's on the future? I don't know. I just know it's going to be really cool.
Well, I can't thank you enough. That makes my heart warm. Our folks that work with yours feel the same way. That it's we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Y In fact, you've brought other partners to us,
Hmm.
through your vendors and suppliers, and so it takes a village.
Hmm.
I quote some past politician, but
Uh-huh.
it takes a village, and you are a collaborative effort to that, and I think the work that we are doing and continue, and your work at Home Depot, but also your directional work and your support on our board, has been meaningful, and also your friendship
I appreciate that as well.
over the last many years. So, I want to I want to invite you to go to the Home Depot website if you're looking for different programs, different opportunities, different ways to give back, different training programs. Go to the Home Depot. I think I have the Home Depot website here somewhere. You have it, I'm sure.
Pathtopro.com.
Pathtopro.com.
Yes, sir.
And then for training opportunities, as somebody that's looking to as a grandmother and want their grandson or granddaughter to go into, go to hbi.org. We have training programs all over the country and partnerships with the Department of Labor and the Home Depot Foundation and many others. So go to hbi.org for any research. And thanks for listening today, Tim. Thanks
Ed,
for
thanks for having me.
thanks for your
I
friendship.
appreciate it.
All
Thank
right.
you.